This podcast has mature language, not intended for underage viewers.
Street cred sports. Street cred sports. I'm crossing over. I'm Euro stepping.
Hello, this is Keenan of Street Cred Sports Training, and welcome to another episode of Time to Ball. This is episode 24. I hope everyone is doing well. I had to get in the lab, hectic week, so I'm a little out of my element. So if it doesn't sound with the purity and excitement as far as the how it comes through, my apologies. But I'm here at the office doing this podcast. I might start doing more from this office if this turns out well. I think the interviews I've had, they went well. So bear with me if you can. Hey, so this is going to be a quick one, but let me get to some things on my mind real quick. Let me start with Steph. Man, Steph was special, giving the Sacramento Kings a 50-piece to play to win the series in Game 7. You know, it was like, to me, it was like looking in the mirror and playing against a younger version of yourself with how Sacramento plays. You know, and I think it does boil down to championship experience with Golden State, you know, knowing certain things and not getting flustered in certain position. And it looked like Sacramento got a little bit of tight as far as, you know, shooting. You start to understand the magnitude of, you know, if you don't win, if you take this shot, you know, sometimes you can play and one basket, depending on the floor of the game, one basket can feel like 4 baskets. Because if you're having a tough time scoring, you know, if you're just struggling, it feels like if you're only down by 2, you're actually down by 6. And to me, that kind of looked like what was going on with them. Now, I heard people saying, you know, De'Aaron Fox, you know, his finger was affecting him. But when you look at his statistical, you know, averages and points and shots taken throughout the whole series, they were about the same. He doesn't shoot very well from the 3. He gets a lot of his he gets a lot of his baskets close to the rim. So I didn't see a lot. I didn't see any grimacing in pain. You know, he looked like he still had command. But you know, it wasn't just on him. I mean, hell, they won Game 6, you know, with him. So, you know, you can't turn around. This is just the way I look at it. You can't complain about something one time and then be okay, you know, okay with it the next time. So if you do well in one game, then next game you can't say, oh, well, he had a bad game because of that. No, was a good game because of that. You know what I'm saying? So that's just me on that. But yeah, Steph was special. You know, scoring to 50, and it was just, you know, something to watch with the way he plays and how he, you know, gets his shots off and stuff. So that was, you know, there's more, but you know, like I say, I'm kind of on the run right now, trying to get in and get out. I will touch on something. I did see a tweet from someone, so I actually looked into it, and apparently Texas lawmakers are proposing a transfer bill for high school students. Now, what this would do is this would allow high school students to transfer once without having to be 365 to a different district. What I didn't see, you know, from all that I read, and maybe I missed it, but what I didn't see is if you're in that district, if you can transfer from one school to another without any issues. It said district, but I mean, it could have been district, but I don't know, like, if you're in this letter, you know, if you're trying to transfer to El Paso, if there's issues, because I've heard of issues like that. But, you know, hey, look through the archives. I told y'all that transfer portal was going to be coming down to high school. And you know, I'm not a prophet. I don't want you to think hey man, you've been speaking some knowledge and you seem to be right on some stuff. Hey, can you play the lotto for me? Nah, bro, I'm not doing that. But I will just speak on the fact that it just seemed like it was trending. You know, it's kind of copycat, and it'll save, parents headache. Now, obviously, there's some downside to it. You get kids trying to transfer to a popular school, to play with a high level player because they know they're gonna have a better opportunity to reach deep playoff run and stay, or if that player has really good college looks, it can propel them and get them some looks, and then you have kids that are there that kind of get looked over and moved to the side. So that was what somebody was mentioning in a particular thread when I was looking at all of this. They were talking about those things, and unfortunately that can be a thing. But I mean, I'm like this, man. Hey, if I'm good, if I can ball, I'm gonna ball no matter who's there. I'm not gonna worry about that if I can ball. And now, if the coach has a type, which is something that I'll discuss at another podcast, if the coach has a type, there's nothing you can do. If you're not that coach's type, then you should see. That's the thing I feel. If you're not the coach's type, I'll delve into it. What I mean by type. Okay, my high school season, my freshman high school season, we had a freshman squad, and we balled, right? And there was some that was like, man, you should be on varsity. I wasn't tripping on that. I didn't care about that. I was loving my teammates, and what we were doing was special. We came up into a JV, and again, man, you should be playing on varsity. And I heard it, but we love playing against varsity in scrimmages and giving it to them, right? So wasn't until my junior year that I realized that it was something weird. Like, I wasn't getting moved up. I started to understand it. Like, I wasn't getting moved up or anything. Well, it turns out that that high school coach had a type, and it didn't matter how good I was. It didn't matter at all. Hell, I was playing in a summer league with college kids as a sophomore in high school, so I could play. Dad told me that somebody thought I was already in college, so I could play. That wasn't an issue. But that coach had a type, and fortunately for me, my dad made a decision. No, we're gonna put you somewhere where they allow you to play. Go to Lincoln. Rest is history, right? So there is a type, and if that coach has a type and you don't fit that type, I strongly really feel that you should be able to transfer. You should not have to stay at an institution. And I don't want to hear this, well, you go for education. Yeah, you're going for education because I hate to say it, but it's part of life. You got to get education. But a lot of kids are spending time in training on teams and stuff. And if they're good enough to play, they should be given the opportunity to play, not sat because the coach has a type. So hopefully that gives you an opportunity to move. But obviously, if you move to another school, if that coach has a type and you're still not that type, what do we do? So that's just with that. That's crazy that's actually happening. Okay, so I do want to touch on excuse me. There have been some injuries in the NBA and in high school and in basketball in general, with kids, players getting hurt, twisted ankles, messed up knees, stuff like that. I'm starting to contribute it to bad closeouts, right? And what I mean by bad closeouts, bad closeouts and bad contests. What I mean by that is players, a lot of defenders are undisciplined with how they close out. They're running out and they're not allowing room for that player to come down. They're invading that player's space. I've seen some bad closeouts. I've seen some really bad defensive plays where you're trying to run to a spot and get there and take a charge when you probably shouldn't be taking a charge. Look, sometimes it's just 2 points. I mean, unless it's the last 5 seconds on the clock and they're going up for a layup and you want to send them to the line and make them earn it. But, in today's sports, you got to make sure it's not a flagrant foul. But at the same time, that's kind of, like sometimes you let the 2 points go. Hey, let that 3 go. I mean, I'm not saying let it go, but you have another opportunity, to play defense. And, to me, it's not at the risk of hurting yourself or that player, So I think it's a lot of undisciplined closeouts. I mean, they're coming out, feet kind of sloppy, weird angles. If there's a right-hand shooter, they're closing out a little bit to the left side. You can fly by or get up onto that right hand, and hitting the hand is not an issue. That's not what that's not an issue. It's when you come through with your feet, and you take away that space for that person to land. Now, there are some shooters that shoot and they kind of jackknife when they shoot, meaning they kick their feet forward, or they're the type of shooters that don't shoot where they go straight up and down. They shoot and they go forward. So, those kind of things, if you know who you're playing, if you've seen these people play, you know what they're doing. You should know how to adjust, right? And that lies the gray area. How do you close out? I've always tried to teach kids, if you're gonna close out, to contest the shot, you kind of run up and by them. That way, you're not worried about how they land. They're not worried about how they land, and things like that. If it's a right hand, you closing out with your right hand to the right side and left to the left. But I think it's an art of actually closing out that a lot of people don't do, and some of it has to do, there's a lot of discussion that it has to do with the old way of closeouts, where you just coming out chopping your feet. Players are a lot faster, the range is a lot deeper. That chopping doesn't get it done. So you have some, teams that institute running out. I believe the Clippers are really good at running out and not chopping their feet. So, everybody has their own preference, but I think instead of forcing a person to do your system, maybe play to that player's strength. If you're a traditional, chopping your steps type person, but then, this person is horrible at it, let that person run out. You know what I'm saying? That person's going to be more effective and more comfortable. But that's another conversation for another day. I know we can talk about the pros and cons of both. The last thing I want to get into is, actually, you know what? I'm going to save that one, because that one deserves probably a little bit more attention. So I'm going to save that one. And I'm going to move on to my basketball training ideology. Okay, so for basketball training ideology, when you have so many different kids at so many different levels as we have here, there's always something that comes up that you weren't really thinking about was a thing until you think about it, and it is a thing. The thing that I'm talking about is what I call the growth of a player. So here's what I mean. Let's say you're on your high school team. Oh, no. Let's say you're on your city league team, and you're a good player. You play a nice little role, whatever the role may be. Maybe you're a shooter. Maybe you're, you set screens and you box out, and you do pick and roll to the basket. Mid-range, elbow, whatever it is. You're the point guard, you distribute, you keep the team together, right? You have a defined role on your team. And let's say it's a really good team, okay? But then when you go to high school, your role is expanded. So now, and it could be vice versa. You could have a defined role on high school, and then you go to a city or a travel team, and now your role is expanded. Issue becomes, once your role is expanded and you're doing multiple things, like let's say you're just a shooter, but now you're handling the ball more so you can get people involved and do those things. How do you put that genie back in the bottle? How do you go back to that city, travel, or high school team and just go back to that role, knowing that you were so effective in an expanded role doing more things. Obviously, it should be good for the team, but it's a tricky thing because you don't want to make it seem like you're better than everybody else. But hey, if your game is evolving, you got to go with how it evolves. I think it's very fascinating. I sound like a professor. It's very fascinating. Very fascinating. I do think it's something. It's something that I haven't thought of until recently. In different conversations with parents, coaches, as well as kids. It's like, what? That's a thing. That is a thing that you have to really, look into and ask what it becomes. Because then you have to have. The coach could be ecstatic because they have a weapon or they have something that they can utilize more, but then those other players might be a little like, man, he's always been a shooter, or he just handles the ball. Why is he shooting more? Well, this person was just a rebound and screen and pick and pop or picking rim running person. Now they're handling the ball. It affects everything. So there's an adjustment that you have to have, but I think it's a good thing. As long as you're not creating a monster, I think it's a good thing. But it is something that, has to always be looked at because, you can grow, like getting taller. And now, instead of, you were a post player with moves and a nice little jump shot at 6 feet, but now you're 6'7" with that same move and stuff. But now you can handle the ball as well. So now, your role becomes a little bit different. So I really think that's important to have a growth of a player. And I think it happens more than people realize and understand. And I think it will continue to happen more as you see more players, doing different things. Because if you're playing in high school, you're playing, you're playing a certain type of offensive, with what that coach wants. Well, you could be constricted in some way, right? Then you're playing on that city or travel team, it's more of a free-flowing type offense. So you can, really show what all the other things that you can do. I think it's a good thing. I just think it's a good thing. You just hopefully when you go back to that team, that it's embraced and they're not trying to be pushed back into that role. But, hopefully things will work out the way it's supposed to with said kids and said organizations. And, it's all about trying to be effective and understand what you have. So we'll just have to see as time goes. Okay, I'm going to touch on this shoe tying. Yes, shoe tying your shoes. It is a thing. How do I know it's a thing? Because I've had countless kids come in that run with the clunkiness, and I'm doing drills with them, and they don't tie their shoes tight. They have, real slippage, and their feet are moving in their shoes because they don't tie them. And I have to explain to them that you got to tie your shoes because you want your feet to fit snug in the shoes. You don't want your feet to move, right? And then when on top of that, it keeps you from rolling your ankle. You're not rolling your ankle as much because if your foot slides, it gets off balance, and then your position switches, and the next thing you know, you're toppling over. So yes, tie your shoes. Shoe tying is a thing. I can't tell you how many kids I've had to look at their shoes and say, man, you need to tie your shoe, and then they tie them. I was like, no, look at how much room I could almost take your shoes off with your shoes tied. You got to tie them snug, and then when I tie them tight and stuff, and they're like, oh yeah, I love the way this feels, and I just crack up because I was like, man, you've been missing out on this all this time. So yeah, make sure you tie your shoes, players, because it's very important for your feet to feel snug in those shoes. Okay, all right. So this next thing I'm gonna talk about is a setup dribble for jump shots. What is it? Some people ask me, well, what is a setup dribble? Well, it's usually the dribble sometimes. If you're going really fast, and let's say you're getting to that spot and you're pushing it up the court and you get in, you're taking 2 dribbles to get to that spot, sometimes you could be dribbling and running so fast that your balance is going to be off. So a lot of times you'll take one little last dribble to give you time to set your feet and go up. It kind of slows you up, in a sense, to where you're able to gather yourself and go up. Because I've seen people that, they're going super fast and they take, as little dribbles as they can, which is what you should be doing, but they're not understanding how their dribble needs to be. And then, next thing you know, they're off balance and they're shooting a weird, crazy looking shot. It looks wild. So what I tell people and what I've worked on with kids is a setup dribble. And it's, if we're going to do a 2 dribble and you're going to go really hard, kind of open court off that 2 dribble, I'm going to give you one little quick dribble as you get your feet set, and then you go up with that shot. It's not a lazy dribble. It's just a little quick dribble as you're getting to your spot, so now you can set your feet. Okay. At some point, maybe I'll make a little video of it so people can see it, but it's very important. It's very important. Now, some people use a setup dribble if they catch the ball in the corner on the top of the key and they're wide open. And, some people aren't used to just catching and shooting. They're like, wait a minute, I'm open. So then they'll take a little bounce and then they'll go and shoot the shot. So that's similar to a setup dribble. It's with rhythm and stuff. Okay. That's all I'm going to have today because I got to get ready for my trainings today. But there won't be any bonus content this week. I'm going to get into some other things. Hopefully I'll have an update on some of the stuff I talked about. Look, playoffs are really nice. Whether you have a team, you root for your team because to me it's wide open. If you don't have a team, just enjoy watching the games like I am. I actually enjoy going through my feed and watching the different people on those different who are different fans of different teams. Go through all of their emotions with the games going on. It's kind of funny. So I still don't know who's gonna win. I mean, it's wide open to me. It could be anybody. So I'm just wanting to see, who's going to end up there. So with all of that said, I am going to end today this short, abbreviated microwave version, like I always do. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. I'm out.
Street cred sports, say it with your chest. Yeah. Go get it from the net. Street cred sports, okay, that's a bet.